Hello and welcome back. So I've been working on my NSF career proposal, which is due on Monday. So I've also been going through looking at all my old reviews and other things like that to see what reviewers liked and what they didn't like. And so I'm going to show you what some NSF reviews actually look like and what this side of research and mathematics actually is. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into it and, well, we'll see what we get. Okay, so what we have is that we were submitting a proposal to the NSF. And so we select a program, and I showed you how to do that before. And so I have one that I sent to an engineering program, and one that I sent to an analysis program. And I'm going to show you some of the differences in the reviews I got for one that was accepted in the engineering program, and the one that was ended up being rejected from the analysis program. And in here, there is this thing called the merit review context, and so they go through and they tell me exactly what happened at the panel, and they give me a context of what was going on. So here they say that this proposal, and this is the one that ended up being awarded, and this was sent to Energy, Power, Controls, and Networks, and this proposal was one of 26 proposals, and there were 19 projects. I'm not exactly sure what that difference is, but they're considered by the panel, and the panel consists of 12 panelists. And essentially the panelists reviewed things that were in their area of expertise, and what they did is they submitted a review to Fastlane, which is the whole proposal system, before they actually ended up meeting. And then after that, they discussed everything there. And so there's a little bit more to the statement. They said, so at least 3 panelists provided a written evaluation for each proposal. And then basically the written evaluations were presented to the panelists, so the whole 12 of them, and they debated the strengths and weaknesses of the proposal, and then they assigned preliminary ratings, and these ratings go from, say, fair, good, very good, and excellent. And so essentially what they did is they evaluated these against both the merit review criteria, which included the intellectual merits, and that basically how can it advance knowledge, and then broader impacts, how can this help the community. And so basically this is what they rated it on, and we'll see some discussions in the reviews I'll show you in a minute. And so then the panel discussion concerning each proposal was documented by a panel scribe who prepared the summary. So each one of these reviews comes with a panel summary, and that will basically give you an outline of what everybody talked about. And yeah, so why don't we go ahead and jump into this, and well, I'll show you exactly what it looks like. So let me see. Is this? Yeah, okay. So here we go. So this is what it looks like in Fastlane. So if you take a look at everything you've submitted thus far, this is what you'll see. And so this is on research.gov and Fastlane for NSF. And if you go through here, I've blacked out a bunch of things that I either are maybe too specific to me, or maybe I might give away some of the things I'm working on currently. But if you take a look at this, this is more or less my scorecard. And here you see there's a ton of declined and a couple awarded. And that's kind of a typical thing you'll see with somebody who's submitting a lot of proposals. So I submit something like 4 a year, maybe 5 a year research proposals, basically up until the point where I have managed to fund all of my graduate students who are actually working on these projects with me. And so here we see that I have, an awarded collaborative research operator theoretic methods for identification and blah, 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 blah. And that was for $230,000. And so that is money that's being spent on paying my graduate students tuition, and a little bit of money comes back to me through my summer salary. And then the rest goes to overhead. Now, you'll notice that all of these, or most of these, have collaborative research in the title. And that's because I really like to write proposals with other people. And that's a really big change for me working with this career grant, because it's all on me. So with a collaborative research, you basically team up with somebody at another institution, and you both submit a separate proposal. Well, it's actually one proposal, but you just have separate submissions. And so the main primary organization, and so in this case, this was me. I submitted the actual proposal, which is about 15 pages, telling them what we're going to do. And then everybody else had to prepare their budgets and say how they're going to fund their students and all these other things. And so, and that one that was awarded in particular, this one that's at $229,000, that was split between me, a researcher at Oklahoma State University, Rushi, and another researcher, Taylor, Rushi Kachmal-Purkar, and Taylor T. Johnson, and Taylor T. Johnson's over at Vanderbilt University. And so this just shows my portion of the award, and so the actual award amount with all of them together was more like about $700,000. Anyway, and then you'll see that I have more collaborative proposals. A whole bunch of them ended up being declined. One for $800,000, and that was a big one that we were trying to do for COVID analysis, but they didn't like it. It was actually an expansion of a rapid grant that we weren't able to get out in time, and then it just ended up being a failure. And then you see here we have this one 8K award, and this was a supplementary award for an REU. And so this is something you can add on to your awards later on in order to support some undergraduate that wants to get into research. And so I'm working with an undergraduate on that project now. So if we go through here, basically this is the panel summary. And so essentially here, what we see is that the proposed research aims to do a novel framework and nonlinear system identification. So this is the one that was ended up being awarded, and that one that I was talking about, that was roughly about $660,000. And so basically, if you go through here, they talk about what I did and give an analysis of what I did, or what I proposed. And so here we've actually accomplished most of the things in this proposal in just year one, and oddly. Well, it's basically, we already did about 2 years of work before it was finally awarded. So I mean, we had some preliminary work that went into it, so we had a good idea of how things were going to go. So that's how we ended up writing the proposal and made sure it sounded plausible. But then by the time it came back to us, we've had more time to work on these problems, and we wanted to work on them anyway. And then now it's been several months into this proposal, and well, now we're basically 2 years into it, but we've only been maybe like half a year, maybe 1 year into this proposal at this point. And so it's really nice. And so I left a lot of this unredacted because I've already made videos on these. And so if you wanted to see a lot of stuff that we're working on in this proposal, that was all in this parameter identification, the Cindy algorithm type stuff that I talked about, L2, stuff like that. And so, so if you want to see what we did, go take a look. And in fact, I have an older video on motion tomography if you want to see what that is. In any case, so some of the strengths that they said for this proposal is they said that the theoretical component was deemed strong, introduces a novel way to utilize system trajectories within a suitable framework for reproduced kernel Hilbert spaces and nonlinear system identification. And it says it's possible that it will enable new links between machine learning, kernel ideas, and system identification. And I hope that you guys are convinced that I've done that much so far. Anyway, so then it goes on to talk about motion tomography, etc. And so it says that areas of improvement, this is where I really want to focus on when I'm working on this new proposal, is that they wanted a friendlier introduction to mathematical ideas, and the literature review would have been and a better literature review would have been a plus. And so I tend to just dive right into talking about reproduced kernel Hilbert spaces because I live and breathe this, and it escapes me sometimes that other people don't. And so that is something I need to make sure I improve here on this career grant, because this is a much more higher profile grant that I'm working on, and so it'll be judged maybe a little bit more harshly. So I need to make sure I improve that. And then it also says that the panel perceived potential challenges with computational issues and scaling. Yes, any sort of approximation scheme where you go to high dimensions is going to be difficult. And so we answered a few questions actually after we were already awarded this. Well, it's technically we're in sort of a soft award, but they asked us to clarify how we intend to improve this. And so basically, we said that we can use sparse identification techniques to reduce the number of parameters that we need to actually tune, and they seemed to like that answer. In any case, and then they thought that the application to motion tomography was a well-chosen idea, so that's good too. Okay, so taking a look at a particular reviewer here for this one accepted proposal, and this guy gave me a very good. This isn't the best rating you can get an excellent. And so in general, we had two goods, we had a very good, and we had a very good / excellent out of this. And so generally speaking, that was a decent score. And so basically they wanted to give, in the context of the 5 review elements, to evaluate strengths and weaknesses of the proposal. And so basically they were describing what we're doing. And so kernel methods and level operators, you guys know all about that if you've been watching my videos. And they said an attractive feature of their approach is that it takes trajectories as a fundamental unit of data, and that's through these occupation kernels. And so then they really liked the application area of motion tomography, and so I have a video on that if you want to check it out. I blanked out the other stuff that we plan on doing with this. You'll see it later. In any case, we have some other things, and they wanted to evaluate strengths of, say, the broader impact. So we have a lot of stuff talking about, doing some workshops for undergraduates and summer camps for high school students and things like that. Just basically outreach and working out to your broader community. And we have a hard-hitting outreach thing, but I redacted it because it's not my thing. It's my colleague, so I'll leave that alone. In any case, so at the very end, so the proposal describes an interesting approach to nonlinear system identification. Research in this direction will facilitate applications of machine learning tools to nonlinear dynamical systems. And so, boom, they got the idea and they liked it. So this was a very good review, and I like that. So this proposal ended up being actually awarded, and we've been working on it. And these videos I've put up on my YouTube channel, talking about nonlinear systems theory and system identification and all that stuff. Not the DMD stuff, but the system ID, the SIND algorithm, and the inner product spaces for dynamical systems. That's all coming from this grant. So let's take a look at a rejected grant. And this is maybe a little bit more painful for me to show you, but I guess everybody loves a little bit of blood, so let's see it. So here, this is one. It was another collaborative research, and so this was about $260,000 on my side, and on my colleague's side, it was about a matching amount on that over there. So this was in particular to a mathematical sciences program. This was the analysis program. So here, they said it will not be accepted for funding. And all right, so that was nice of the program officer to, say all this stuff. There were other people that are stronger, etc. It was a hard choice, etc. It's your usual stuff you see from people when they're trying to soft pedal, like, you're rejected. Doesn't matter why you were rejected, right? So let's take a look at one proposal, and this is a fair proposal. This is basically one of the lowest scores you can get. We did have one very good here, but we had 2 fairs, and so that killed us. So let's take a look and see what they said. So this guy really didn't like me, and you see right from the beginning, it says that the proposal is sloppily written and it seems to lack ambition. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, sloppily writing. This was done during the pandemic. I was trying to work around, screaming toddlers and yelling, and so I didn't have quite as much time and focus in order to put something in here. And so maybe it wasn't written as well as it could be. Seemed to lack ambition. This was our fault. We were being overly conservative with things we were trying to propose, and we were presenting them things that we knew that were solvable right away. In fact, in writing a proposal, we practically solved the problem. And so I think that just made it seem like there wasn't much to do. And and then if you take a look at this next paragraph, it says the main draw of the proposal, activities of potential applications to dynamical systems. Unfortunately, I do not have the required expertise to judge whether these are legitimately interesting or realistic. But the authors insist on at least 2 separate occasions that such applications need not be the focus of the proposal, so I will judge it on the merit of the proposed theoretical research alone. So that was a mistake of ours. We said that the point of the proposal is the operator theory and is not the applications. And of course the applications are a big part of everything. But this is the second time we've submitted this proposal, and last time we had so much of the dynamical system stuff in there that they just said this is the wrong program. So we were trying to, roll that, take that back a little bit, and apparently this lack of application area ended up killing us there. And so, so they found this proposal being very lacking. This really hurts to read this, and they, basically, So again, so if you see in AIM1, I didn't highlight this, but they say that investors expect almost direct applications and known results and arguments to go through. We were trying to be convincing that this will work. Apparently, we sort of undersold it. So basically they say that AIM 2 suggests doing something similar in the Siegel bargaining space, etc. This is something that we're working on right now. We'll have it out actually in a couple weeks. And it seems to indicate many of these issues will trivialize that space. For instance, boundedness requires linear symbols. So this, I'll get into what this means later, but unfortunately, this whole comment about linear symbols was actually the opposite of the things that we were talking about. So these are new kinds of operators that we're trying to discuss, and I didn't make it clear enough which symbol was important. And so, yeah, so this guy focused on that too hard, and I think if we explained AIM2 better, and we explained what those connections back to dynamical systems were, then I think this would have gotten a much better review from this guy, but we didn't, and so he's just left to judge what we had in there, and he didn't like it. And so the third aim he found somewhat interesting, and this is connected to some of the stuff that we're doing with occupation kernels and going back to L2 inner products on dynamical systems. And so yeah, so he liked that idea, but we didn't really go into it much, and we have more stuff that we put in there that was not in the other grant, so this is a different direction of that same sort of thing, but he just wasn't really inspired by it. And so again, we should have driven home what the connections meant for dynamical systems. And I love this statement, assuming that the existence of what they call occupation kernels in quotes, yes, they exist. We proved that, and it's actually a very easy thing to prove that they exist, so I was annoyed with that statement, but whatever. But he says, both potential to advance knowledge and creativity are low for this proposal. So, okay, so you can't do much. And so then, and these last sentences, this really hurts, but I'll do it for my audience. So very little is said in the way of a plan to tackle the proposed problems. What there is often reduces to hope or expectations that standard arguments go through. This is very uninspiring and not the kind of mathematical research that the NSF should support. Ouch. Okay, so we just weren't ambitious enough with the things we were trying to do in this proposal, and we weren't clear enough on the importance and its connection to the applications and the other things we wanted. So this really tells me, basically what this program's looking for and how to better emphasize what we're doing. So don't remove everything from the broader impacts, which would have been the applications, and make it very clear. And then also, make sure you write things not sloppy. I didn't have time to get this done as well as I wanted, and that ended up hurting me in the end. And so, yeah, that's that. So that was the reviews for an accepted proposal and a rejected proposal that I got from the NSF. And you see a drastic difference between different reviewers, and that's I guess all there is to say about that. So I'm going to try to use these ideas and these connections to tie back to the proposal I'm doing now. And one thing that's interesting is that a lot of the reviewers, even on the rejected proposal, said that they really liked my broader impact statement. And so I'm going to take that broader impact statement from there, and I'm going to move it into my new proposal, because that last one was rejected, so I might as well just try it again. And but of course, the career grant is a lot bigger with broader impacts, and so I need to have a lot more in there. So that just becomes one component of the broader impacts. In any case, so thank you for watching, and I hope this maybe helps you figure out what you want to do for your proposals and how to write them. And what I can say is that if you haven't written a grant proposal before and you're a postdoc or an assistant professor, just get that done. If you're a postdoc, team up with a faculty member and just write something and send it out. And if you're a faculty member and you're nervous about jumping into grant writing, do it. You will get rejected, they will hate you, but you will have new weapons to use in the reviews that they gave you. You can see what people are looking for, you can see how you can improve yourself, and you can see the things that you might have missed when you just kept it to yourself and you didn't share it. So please, I encourage you to submit proposals, just get it out there, do a few a year to get as much input as you can back. And if you send enough proposals out, eventually you'll figure out how to write them better, and you'll be able to get something awarded. And so anyway, so good luck to everybody who's submitting a career grant on Monday, and good luck to me, I hope. And well, yeah, thank you for watching.